Hello, everybody. I'm Peggy.
I'm Laura.
I'm Coviello Salinès.
Hey.
And we are Urban Booz. And for those of you who haven't seen our past episodes, Urban Booz is a friendship where we are finding ways to pair food with wine, beer, and spirits.
Our food, our comfort
Our food, our comfort
what
food.
What goes with cornbread and collard greens.
Right, so we're not just a wine review or beer review or whiskey review. So just to make that clear.
Right.
Yes.
Because I've had a couple of questions about that. And with that, we are very blessed to have a guest with us, a master blender of a very unique wine that you see here. Amour Genève. Am I doing that right?
Yes.
Woo,
Yes.
Lord, yeah.
You're good. It's natural.
I got it.
Yes.
Master blender Coviello Salinès. And we are so happy to have him here. And we're going to hear about his journey and also some tips on what foods can we pair
with this wine.
This beautiful wine with.
And it is a very beautiful wine. I don't know if you can see, this is a lovely blue color.
Look at that color.
This is amazing.
For those sigmas and zetas and sigma gamma rhos, okay, I was at a Delta party, I'm just thinking about the Divine Nine. This would be a wonderful showcase for your parties.
It's so funny. It's so funny you say that. Actually, I just did the event.
Oh, really?
I just did the event, the Centennial, that was in Washington.
Oh, what?
The big one, yeah, because they had the founders.
Yes, they had a big. Their Founders Day was this week.
Was this week?
Yeah, for the Zetas. Okay, but Delta's was on Monday. I'm just
Correct.
trying to say.
Yeah.
Can't leave out my sorrows.
Facts.
I didn't play.
She's a GDI, y'all. She's a GDI. It's okay.
Sorry. My sister is a Sigma Gamma Rho. And
Okay,
my aunt
blue.
is
That
a
works.
blue, yeah.
We need to.
Need to get her a bottle. And my aunt.
That's right. Get them a
There you
bottle.
go.
Bottle.
Needed on their wine rack.
They
Essential.
need it.
Essential.
That's an
on the wine
essential table wine
Mm-hmm.
for anyone that's part of Divine Nine that has blue in their colors.
Okay.
There we go. We're putting it out there, y'all.
Boom.
Boom.
Okay, well, let's start. Why? What led you to this? Why did you decide to make wine?
Yeah. So, it's kind of a very developed story. I guess I'll start from the beginning.
Okay.
So, my father was in Marine infantry. He was also a Marine engineer.
Okay.
And when he wasn't on his deployments, he was always bringing back another type of varietal, some type of wine that he was traveling somewhere. I remember he was bringing back wines from Greece. And that was like one of the first times I was actually introduced to a lot of those different type of varietals. When I was very
How
young.
old were you? He let you taste
I was around
wine?
like 7, 8.
Shut up.
Yeah. Oh, he was a Marine, so it's like they're tough.
Man up.
Yeah,
Man
man up.
up.
They're staunch.
Drink
So
some wine,
yeah,
boy.
he loved his beer, he loved his wines, and he loved cooking. Right,
Okay,
so
okay.
I would always know him as being either in nature, gardening, or in the kitchen, chefing something up.
Okay.
So at a very young age, I was introduced to wine and different type of a good sustainable palate.
Right.
And understanding complexities of what wine is supposed to do when you're pairing foods. And it just so happens my father loved the color blue. When I tell you, I think I showed you a few different pictures before,
Yes.
but everything. He used to collect turquoise, topaz, blue diamonds, all of these different blue heirlooms.
Oh.
Yeah, so everything in the house had some type of layer of blue to it. So my father wanted me to be a neurosurgeon. That's what I was studying actually. And at a very young age, again, he would bring back wine. He would bring back these brain books, sociology books.
Oh
It was
God.
crazy. Yeah, he was really staunch in education. Like
Yeah,
that was
okay.
key. And when I ended up fast forward going to college, I ended up studying engineering, and I was working with a good friend of mine that was starting his own company, and he wanted me to do the engineering part. But my father, he was also very staunch, and whatever you're doing, just do it to the fullest.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Exactly. But unfortunately, my father ended up passing around my junior year, so he never actually got to see me, excel to where he was seeing and how he was like grooming me through my life. Especially at a distance. He was all the way down in Arizona. So so he would contact me and keep me going through college, but he never got to see me thrive. So I wanted to do something that was attributed to him. I didn't necessarily know what it was going to be when I was leaving college, but I wanted to do something. So I ended up working in the field of extraction, and I wanted to do something that was a little bit different, but I wanted to do something that would leave some type of legacy. And then I thought about it.
So you're an engineer, and you were extracting
By trade.
Right, by trade,
Correct.
which trade and engineering is not you know, it's like by profession.
Exactly.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
excuse me,
Yeah.
y'all.
We're very analytical here.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
She is.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of find words and kind of put them in.
Yeah.
But, so
But that's key to engineering too. Figuring out
that
things
is
and putting
exactly,
it.
that is
Mhm.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But it's the practical part of it, but it's also the high end, the thoughtful part of
Yes,
it. That, you
very
know,
much so.
You've got to think it, and then you've got to build it.
Yes.
So, you know, it's both.
Absolutely. And building this was one of those things where it was a lot of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure that first of all, the actual color was something that could be, you know, allowed to be done in food and beverage, because
Right.
there's never been a natural blue color in food and beverage. You're usually seeing like blue ones or dyes or additives. So what we had to do first is we had to come up with a natural separation of the actual fruits and vegetables that we were trying to utilize to see if the blue color was even,
Wow.
you know, attainable. So the reason why we chose these different fruits and vegetables, because we didn't want to just necessarily go to wine first, right? Because that would have been a very costly type of trial and error thing.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to do something different, and blue was just, it just was a
It
go-to.
is just a
It was a go-to
gorgeous
because, yeah.
blue, and so it's not just from grape skins; it's from other.
So it actually is from grape skin. So
Okay.
getting those actual like fruits and vegetables and figuring out, okay, there is a pH shift that we can utilize to actually take the color from different fruits and vegetables. But then we wanted to allocate it to wine because, again, my father loved wine.
Right.
He loved the color blue. And we were able to figure out that natural formula outside of these other individuals that were trying to do this. We ended up getting the vineyards in Alicante. That was the first area that we went to. And that's on the Mediterranean coast, more the central east of Spain. Very beautiful terroir there. You know, the landscape, the climate was perfect for the Verdeco that we were actually utilizing. So the foundation and the format is a Verdeco. So
Is that a grape?
yes.
Right.
So it's a
Okay.
white wine. Yes.
It's like, what kind of wine is it?
Oh, well, let me stop saying so much. Maybe I'm saying too much.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we had learned from, you know, another one who makes the wine Alca Nectar that he used a Cayuga grape.
Yes.
And there was no sorrel in
Yeah.
it, but yet it had the essence of sorrel.
Yes.
He
So we're really
manipulated the
interested.
grape.
We
Mhm.
manipulated the
Yep.
grape. So that's why I said it's the grape. You know, we are learning as we go along.
Yes,
This is a
yes.
whole education.
And education is the key to this wine as
Right.
well too, because again, this is like molecular fusion, molecular gastronomy in the food and beverage world. You know, a lot of people don't realistically know everything that they're eating or even how to accumulate something of this you know, stature. So we wanted to figure out, first of all, taking the actual Verdeco, doing the foundation, being a very acidic white wine, we allowed that to be stable to the actual color that we were utilizing for the blue. So then we ended up going to Piemonte, Italy, and we wanted to specifically pick these two varietals simply because they meshed with each other very well when we did the trial and error. So
When you said they meshed, the flavor meshed or the
no,
color,
the
or
actual
pH?
the actual pH. Yes.
Okay.
So all this is done by a stabilizing the pH to a certain point that when it goes from an acidic level to an alkaline, it develops that natural blue transition from the skins. So
you scienced your wine.
oh yeah, I
Okay.
engineered it to the point of getting this color to stabilize from the actual skin. So just to give you a little small process of how this can be viewed in just the normal everyday you know, science is if you have a fire and you're looking at it on the stove, and if it gets super hot, right, it's gonna turn white. Some flames, if you get it to a point, will even turn black. But it goes from a color spectrum of orange to blue to white hot, and then it can turn to black. Now,
Didn't know about the wine.
yeah, so those visual changes in the actual fire doesn't just come from the reaction, it comes from the actual temperature. But the color visually changes just because you're moving the temperature up in the fire. So same thing with, you know, when you're switching something from a liquid to a vapor to an actual solid, all it is temperature. But it turns the whole dynamic of the actual component or compound into a whole nother thing. So coming up with this acidic level to an alkaline allowed us to develop the color from the skins, separate it, and then introduce it back into the Verdeco allowing the acidity to balance out to a point where it was measured to around like a 6.6, allowing it to be not so harsh, like most acidic wines. When you know, people that have like acid reflux, heartburn, Crohn's, they can't really drink these type of things, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know, we wanted it not just to be something that was new to the world and is as creative as it is, but we also wanted there to be health benefits as well. Because, you know, outside of it, people will look at these different fruits and, different dyes and things that are added to foods. And it's not healthy. You know?
Right. As we find out years later.
Yeah, it's none of that stuff is healthy. And
what's the point of drinking a wine that is... you think of wine, if it's in excess, it's bad for you.
Correct.
But we're having it with a meal. So we're having a glass, maybe a glass and a half. It shouldn't be damaging to us. It should be enhancing our meal.
Exactly.
It's not enhancing if there's got extra preservatives in it that are no good for us. You know, what's the point then?
And then, so what's your alcohol level?
So the ABV is around 11.5. This is a 2017 vintage right here. So it sits at around like a 12.5, I like to say. But we have 11.5 actually on the ABV label. So
okay.
Does this age well? Because that's one of the other things we learned. Not all wines are supposed to be aged. Some of them, you know, you should drink them immediately.
So this is a white wine format. So most white wines like Pinot Gris, you know, Sauvignon Blancs, you want to drink them more when they're young. That's why you're drinking them and eating and pairing with more lean foods, more fresh foods. You know, you're not going to drink this with like an aged steak or like you know, a pasta dish or anything of that nature, because first of all, it's white. But we have it around like a 5-year aging process, 5 to 7.
Okay.
So yeah, you can age this. It becomes more tame because the acidity balances out a little bit. But yeah, it's very nice around like 5 years.
That makes sense. And so, you know, look, my palate is unrefined. You know, it's evolving.
Yes.
So I think I mentioned to you before when Laura and I tried it. We tried it for taste, and then we tried it. I think it was with Mofongo.
We tried with Mofongo when we were together, and it was so much better with Mofongo. I had it initially with swordfish, with shark, which is a very dry fish, and then the way you cook it. The Trinidad way is to strip it even further. You cook it with a lot of lime. So I've got this super dry piece of fish in my mouth, and I have the super dry.
I know.
It's difficult.
It was too much. Yeah, exactly, and it wasn't supposed to be. And it was like, all right, what should we eat with this?
Right.
And when you said mofongo, which was made with pork and plantains, it was good.
Yes.
It was a whole different taste.
Exactly. It was a whole different. It was like, is this the same? But we knew it was the same. But it was amazing.
And that's when we started realizing that when we actually ate something with it, you know, because usually the type of wine, I'll be quite honest, I'm on Wine 101. I'm on, you know, a little tricycle in terms of wine. So my initial inclination was always, why isn't Vidal? You know, safe, right?
Yeah.
And I knew I had to get beyond that. So obviously I'm used to a sweeter one. So how would I transition, you know, from my unrefined palate to better appreciate, you know, your wine?
So the interesting thing about wine, you want to make sure that, you know, you're open to many different varietals, because most people say it's not just about learning and educating yourself on the actual, you know, varietals that you're getting into, but you have to experience all of them by drinking them. You know, experience is the best key for anything. So usually, and I tell this to people all the time, you know, especially in our community, we're not used to drinking wine. We weren't raised. You know, we weren't raised.
And we want to establish a table wine. Like, that's why I asked you the question. Your dad introduced it to you so young. Like, my son's 13. Can I, you know, would they take my mommy card? Or ACS call me, BCW on letting him try it?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. You know, it all comes down to the responsibility of a parent, first of all.
Right.
You know, that's no big thing. You know, in the Italian culture, they actually have their kids drink wine with their foods.
That's it. You know? I would say to, you know, my kids would always say to us, like, when we would have wine at the table, my husband and I and another adult, can we have some? We're not French enough for all that. I'll drink the water.
Yeah.
I I also learned that in Europe, they'll just water it down and give it to the kids.
Absolutely.
Let the kids drink it.
Absolutely.
And so
that
the
makes
kids
so
develop
much
a palate.
sense.
Kids learn.
I wish I'd have done that.
My 16-year-old does not get to enjoy. Too bad. You'll wait. You'll grow up. But I do want him to know how to drink and how to appreciate. And it's like this weird...
I don't want it to be the taboo, because when you tell a kid, oh, you can't have that makes them want it more. And
Exactly.
I wanted to kind of take that away.
And then they have to learn. It's just like we all have to learn. And, the whole thing about cooking with fire. I always joke around with this, but it's true.
Yeah.
People didn't have fire in the house because you burn the whole house down, right? So fire was separate. Now we're all cooking with gas in the house, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All of us, we learned how.
But I think that's why having a wine, a table wine, or having just it being in the house, I don't think there'd be so much alcoholism, and it wouldn't be such a stigma, if you will.
Right.
My daughter's going to be 21 this year. She's like, oh, I can't wait. I can, I'm legal, and I said, when she's home, I'm like, here, try this. So taste it, see what see if you like it. I wish I would have done that sooner, but I really appreciate now our relationship in telling her, yeah, try this. I'm still trying to figure out, why, our community, the whole, fascination with Hennessy.
That's a whole nother historical,
Okay. But it would be wonderful to be able to, to get them to try sooner and have more of a discerning, palate in terms of not relegating yourself to one, to Moscato, or to, to one type,
which is a little bit sweeter.
And dessert.
And why is it always sweet? Why, we don't, let's educate our palates. It doesn't have to always be sweet.
Well, the thing about it too, like you're thinking on a psychological level now, you know, think about like different cultures, especially like you were saying, like introducing the kids to it. Over in Europe, most of those kids have to understand what it is they're drinking, because the chateaus and the vineyards are going to be passed down through generations. So they have to, they have to know, like, okay, this is what, or your family grows. This is what you're going to be taking over. They show them all of that stuff, and then it's a whole culture over there. Just like Hennessy is a culture over here for some reason, wine is a culture over there.
Marketing.
It's marketing, but they don't even market. One thing I found out is most of the wine, like the big like chateaus and domains, they don't market at all. Like you probably will rarely ever see like a very established like well-known wine brand actually market, because it doesn't really come down to the brand. It comes down to the actual wine and the story and the taste of it. It sells itself at that point. It comes
down to the taste,
right? So like your Yellowtails, your big companies that are just putting preservatives in their wine and everything. Yeah, they may want to put their marketing behind it because they're American-made wines. But that's why, and that's why we don't really get respected in the old world, because the way that we value the actual vision of wine. And also, to make it a little bit more of a thing for our culture, we're probably introduced to wine, or you ladies were probably introduced to wine when you got into your college or anything of that nature, right? And then at that point you're drinking the cheap wines or the Moscatos, and your palate's already
Champagne.
Right? Those Zinfandels, right? Like, oh my goodness.
$2.
Right.
The $2
$2 chucks.
But it's like,
Andre, I mean, those are what I was introduced to, and then I tasted Heineken and was like, oh my God, that is the awfulest thing. How are people getting drunk? How are people even drinking this now?
Exactly.
So I didn't have a great introduction. It was more social.
And then your palate's already destroyed by that point, or it's just known for sweet things.
Kool-Aid. Up until college, so that's what I'm used to.
Exactly, and your palate's already used to sweet.
Exactly. So now it's like I'm re-engineering my taste buds.
It takes time. It takes a lot of time, and like I said, pairing is super important when it comes down to that, because you can have a sweet wine, like you can have a Muscat or a Muscadine. That's a good start of transitioning the palate back to maybe like a Sauvignon or a Riesling, and then you bring it back into the reds, and then you make it more of an interesting factor of making a scale of changing the palate, any ideology. It's all with the mind.
Wow, that's kind of cool. That's what a lesson. I mean, I'm definitely going to revisit it, and because again, I got to the Riesling level. Even did a little sparkling red with Mr. Big's macchiato. Bracciato. That's what it is.
Bracciato.
Macchiato is my coffee that I like. Bracciato. But yeah, you know, and I'm definitely intrigued, and you know, I think that this is a lesson for all of us because we have to be educated. We have to deal with our psychological roadblocks,
right,
in wine, and then again, we need to make it a natural part of what we eat.
Right.
We really, really do.
Yeah.
So
bring it to the table, and then you know, and feel free to share it with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, it's like I'm sitting there with the bottle, and I'm not going to drink the whole bottle. I'm only going to have a glass. If I didn't enjoy it, or if I didn't understand, you know, if I didn't. If it didn't hit like Hawaiian Punch, now what? well, that's the thing.
It's a huge thing.
And now it's like, take the Hawaiian Punch away from the kids. They don't need that. Mm-hmm. You don't need it.
It's the sugar.
It is,
right.
yeah.
It's the sugar. Wow. Well, so where can we find you?
So currently we are in the beautiful Happy Cork, of course.
Where we are.
Yes, Brooklyn. So this is a Black-owned, women-owned wine shop. Mm-hmm. They are all about the community. They have an amazing selection, different varietals. Also, they support a lot of the Black brands that we're all growing together. So I love that more than anything.
Yes.
Growing with shops and, you know, the community is super, super important because, again, word of mouth is the best marketing.
Yes.
But it's also great when you can go to an actual wine shop and actually feel like you're at home. And you can call them family and they understand it.
Right.
You know?
Or when you can come in, this is how I found your wine. I came in one day.
I know.
And my husband and I, we were just looking around. Let's get this, let's get that. And we probably came for the Black Girl Magic.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only place in the tri-state area where you can get it.
Right.
And we saw this at the register. And we were looking, we said, let's get it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we asked the staff, what do we drink with this? Mm-hmm. So she said, fish. You know, and I'm like, okay, all right. But we could have that conversation here. I felt very welcome that I could have that conversation and I could pick up the phone call. I'm on my way. Don't close without me. I gotta get this. And, you know, because I've had that conversation with them here too.
We need that in Queens.
Right.
But
somebody.
This is probably I've been living in Brooklyn for 25 years now, and this is the first time I could do that.
Wow.
You know, you go to the corner liquor store, and you know, I hate the
classic bulletproof glass.
Oh man, it's like, I'm not getting anything.
Right.
I'll go down to Trader Joe's, pick up the $2 and figure it out from there. You know,
so
it's nice to come.
Will I be able to find this beautiful wine in Queens?
So we actually have it at a spot now, Regal Park Wines, but we're looking.
Near the mall, I think.
Near, you know,
yes.
Queens Center Mall.
Yep, right there. And we're actually looking for other areas in Queens as well. We have a whole.
Come to Jamaica.
Yes, I gotta get down that way. Let me see. There was a Valley Stream like right in the middle of Jamaica, so I'm trying to like a nice, happy like medium there.
Yes.
So still need to get over.
Even Elmont, there's a big liquor store there. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a nice one in Valley Stream too that I go to. They don't speak English to us. It's a little difficult, you know. But I think that, you know, a way to get more people to come try it. It would be great. You know, we hope we can collaborate with you. You know, Urban Booz is starting to do some really cool things. We're having our first wine tasting this year. Yay!
Growth.
Yes, growth. Who would have thought a conversation, a 15, 20-year conversation with two friends has gone to this.
Right.
Blessings.
You know, so it's a blessing. So we thank you. We thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
You
so
know,
actually, I did bring the wine here too. So we're gonna pour the nice visual so everybody can actually see how this looks when it's poured. So again, this wine, just to give you the actual notes.
Look at that.
That's beautiful.
If you see, it's not just a
look at that.
nullified blue. This is an actual, like, this is the blue, an electric blue. So
beautiful.
Again, I wanted to come up with something that was on a standard of all shades of blue, since this blue breaks down every kind of blue in the color spectrum. Since again, like, my father loved it, and I wanted to make sure it was something that was attributed to him. And yes, very nice on the aromatics. It's very fruit forward, nice floral pattern. So you can even have it here and you can still smell it. It just leads to the notes very, very nicely, eloquently. And then of course, you know, the clarity is very nice, very clear. And then you, on the palate, initially you're gonna have that like nice effervescence, very light effervescence. Then it's gonna be smooth, clear, refreshing, very clean. And then you're gonna have a low minerality with the notes of grapefruit, white peach, crisp apple. and then a nice Riesling finish on the back end. It's a nice subtle
really,
finish.
Yes, I can now feel it in the back. It grows to the back subtly.
Mm-hmm. And it holds. It's not overbearing.
It kind of moves.
Now I'm tasting the grapefruit.
Right.
Whereas before,
we didn't taste the grapefruit with the one we had.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we purchased it. You know, we supported.
We did support, yes. We bought a couple of bottles.
We didn't tell. Cheers to a wonderful 2020.
Absolutely. A great start. It's been a great start, too.
It has been a great start. Absolutely.
I know. So I guess we will sign off. So, as always with Urban Booze,
we're exploring what's good.
Sip by sip.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.